Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here, and in this quick and easy video I would love to invite you to come and draft and sew a three-piece hood together with me. Now, just like you see on this example that we're going to be working on today, a three-piece hood consists from two side panels and then a center back panel that runs between them. Now, before we start, I think a good question is, why do we need to opt for a three-piece hood instead of a regular two-piece hood or even a two-piece hood that features a dart? Well, a three-piece hood is really great for those fabrics that don't shape easily. Like for example, on this raincoat, that really allows for that hood to sit nicely because it eliminates the seam that usually goes down the center front in a regular two-piece hood, meaning that this part right over here is going to be nice and flat. But even regardless of the fabric that you're going to be using for your project, I do think that a three-piece hood gives you a better shaping of the hood overall, in my personal opinion. Now, drafting a three-piece hood is really not that difficult, and we're going to start with a regular two-piece hood pattern. You can use one from the tutorial that I have available for you on my channel, or you can use any other two-piece hood pattern that you already have, whether self-drafted or maybe from another pattern that you already purchased. And first, I will trace this pattern onto a new piece of paper, and in my case, I will do a couple of small adjustments before we move on to the drafting of the three-piece hood. So here you can see my hood hanging over a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a straight line and even out this edge. So from here all the way straight up. Now, you don't have to even out this side if you would like to leave your hood as is, that hangs over a little bit like mine. However, in this tutorial, I would also love to show you how to do an all-in-one facing, and for that, this adjustment works really well. Now here I also want to even out this angle. So for that, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to create a 90-degree angle right over here. And that's about it. From here, I'm going to outline that and we can start our work. So we went from this all the way to this. Now let's go ahead and grab a pencil and a ruler, and we're going to start right here at the center back. For my pattern, I will go ahead and measure 1.5 inches to the side, right over here. But you can take any amount, 1 inch, 2 inches. Just remember that this amount is going to be on the fold, because obviously there's going to be the second part of this pattern. Now, before I go any further, right over here at the top of my hood, I will go ahead and just make a line like this. This will help me in the future. So I will start measuring 1.5 inches all the way from the center back. So 1.5 inches all the way till this line. Now that I have made my markings, I will go ahead and connect them into one line that is parallel to the center back line. For now, this is going to look like so. Now here, I'm going to take 2 inches, so 1/2 inch more than I took right here at the center back. So 2 inches, and I will do exactly the same. I will make markings parallel to this line all the way up till here. So I'm keeping 2-inch distance. And now I'm going to connect these dots. As you can see, of course, these two lines do not match. So now I need to do my best in order to curve this into the line right here. Now take a measuring tape and we're going to measure this line in pencil. For me, this is 17 inches and 3/4. Now we're going to take another piece of drafting paper, and I'm going to use this straight edge of the paper as the center back, and I'm going to measure over here 17 3/4 inches that I got by measuring this line that we made in pencil. So this is going to be this, and in order for that to match, what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer one on top of another. I'm going to align this point with the center back of the old hood, and I'm going to outline that, and then it features a small little curve. Now here on the top, we're going to feature 2 inches because that's how much I took right over here. So 2 inches on the top. And of course, we have to remember that here was 2 inches, here was 1.5 inches, and then I blended the lines somewhere here in the middle. So to make it really easy, I'm going to take this new piece of paper that I have my measurement on, so 17 3/4, and I'm going to fold this measurement in half, like so, just to make it a little bit easier and to have a guideline for myself. And I'm going to open it back up. So from here, what I want to do is I want to take here just about somewhere between 1.5 and 2 inches. So let's take 1.75 inches. Let's say you're doing 10 centimeters and 12 centimeters, take 11 centimeters somewhere here in the middle. Now I'm going to connect the bottom to this new point, like so. And then I'm going to connect the middle with the top. I'm going to outline this new line in blue so that way you can see a little bit better. And I will also go ahead and measure that as I'm doing it. And this line currently measures 18 inches. So it's about 1/4 inch longer than the original line that we measured right over here. And 1/4 inch, that's okay. I will go ahead and ease it and I will not worry about that. Here, I will go ahead and mark that this is the center back. So that way I know the grain line is going to be the center back itself. And this is going to be cut on the fold. Now we just have to make a couple of little notches so that way when we sew it all together, it aligns. And of course we have to finalize the hood. So for that, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut away this piece because we no longer need it because this is going to replace it. Now we're going to place these together and we will confirm that this line remains nice and smooth. And here, somewhere up here, we will make our first notch. And I will do exactly the same here on top. Just right before the curve. There we go. And I know that somewhere over here, I will need to ease in those 1/4 inches. At this point, my 3-piece hood pattern is done. All I have to do is just to cut these pieces out and that's it. But I would also like to create a cut-on facing. So let's say I want my facing to be about 1 inch. So this is perfect. This will be just enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold this piece of paper onto itself at that blue line. And I will measure 1 inch all the way. Make sure that on the bottom here where the neckline is, you copy that exactly because it's going to be very important once the facing is folded in. Now once you open it up, there we go, you're all-in-one facing. But you have to not to forget that you also have this piece and it also needs to feature an all-in-one facing. So we know that this is the top. So over here, we also need to extend it by 1 inch. And again, I'm going to fold it in onto itself because we need to copy that side line. And this completes our facing. Now let's go ahead and put a hood like this together. I have cut 2 side pattern pieces mirrored. I also cut 1 center back pattern piece on the fold. And of course you can see here that I've added my seam allowances as I was cutting my pattern. I have also cut my lining pieces. Now, you don't have to work with the lining, but if you decide to work with the lining like I'm doing right over here, it's very easy. You take your main pattern piece and then what you do is, let me show you, you fold in your all-in-one facing. And then this line right over here, so not the edge, but this line right over here is going to be the edge of your lining. So if I take my lining piece and I place it right on top, you can see how it meets the facing perfectly. So that's how you're going to cut your lining. And the same will apply for the center back piece as well. I will open up my pattern pieces. This is the bottom, so I know that this will go like so. And of course, don't forget that you made your notches, so you're going to align notches as you're going to be pinning this center back piece. One side is pinned, and depending on which fabric you're working and what properties you want your fabric to retain, you will choose the stitch and the type of stitch accordingly. Since I'm working with knit over here, and this is going to be a hoodie, I'm going to be working on my serger. As you can see, I wanted to add a little bit of pop of green, so instead of just doing a seam, I went ahead and I cut a strip of green knit, folded that in half, and sandwiched that as I made the seam between the side panel and the center back panel. Now what I want to do is I want to brush the seam allowance towards the center panel, and I want to go ahead and tap stitch that. Once the top stitching is done, I will go ahead and I will attach the other side panel of the hood. Once both of the side panels are attached, I'm going to repeat exactly the same steps for the lining of the hood as well. And when I'm done with both of them, I'm going to place them right sides together, aligning all of the seams, and then I'm going to pin and sew. After that, I'm going to take the lining, place it inside of the hood, and I'm going to align the bottom of the lining with the bottom of the outer pieces of the hood. That in turn will pull the facing to the inside of the hood for that 1 inch that we left. And now all I have to do is just to give it a really good press. At this point, of course, make sure that your fabric can take heat and can be ironed, and at which temperature. But after that is done, the last step for me is to secure lining to the outer pieces of the hood so that way it doesn't flop around. And I'm going to do that by using EloFlex stretchy thread and a straight stitch all the way around, just like you see on your screens. The final step is of course sewing in the hood into the neckline of the garment that you're working with. For that, you're going to place them right sides together, matching center back of the hood with the center back of the neckline, and you're going to repeat the same for the center front of the neckline as well. In my case, I really like when the center front of the hood overlaps, just like you see right over here. After that, all you have to do is finish the neckline in a really neat way, and that's it. Your 3-piece hood is drafted and sewn. Now, if you do want to know how to finish your knit necklines in a really neat and good way, then go ahead and click on this video right over here. I'll show you 4 different ways how to do that really works for all sorts of different knit garments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy thoughtful sewing. I'll see you soon.